we haven't spent any time talking about Alberto. Talk to us about what he was like to work with, what your relationship was like with him. And he was clearly a top star for Vince. This is his first foray into Impact. What was your experience like here with him?
So, man, you kind of went through quite a few things there. One thing I don't want to miss is that Josh Matthews was phenomenal.
Okay.
Go out of your way to watch, because we're going to get there. But this was, I don't know if this was the first episode, couple of episodes. Maybe we did a few in Orlando is the build, but the build was going to be Josh and Jeremy opposing each other, and Abyss was going to be Scott Steiner and Abyss. So it's a tag. That's what we're building toward, those four. But Josh kind of getting frustrated and taking matters into his own hands. I thought it was very compelling television, and Josh could not have been. He was really, really good. But Patron, I mean, we hit it off day one. It was, if I remember correctly, one of the stories I remember is that, he was a megastar for Vince and hot there for a while. And for us to get him, it was a big get. And look, I thought it was him and Lashley is what we were going to build toward. I thought two big, they both could go. And I thought it was going to be just a really a marquee match. But Ed Nordholm, and he didn't mean any harm out of this, but he snapped a photo of Patron in the ring in Orlando, the tapings before this, and kind of gave away our surprise. But it wasn't that big a deal. It wasn't like, oh my God. But anyway, everybody was excited to get Alberto on. Hard worker. I tell you what, as far as a working relationship with, I don't want to say employer, but that's kind of where I'm going with it. He always and he would tell you, I want to over deliver. What do you want me to do? Worked his ass off, came with the absolute best can-do attitude, helping others, not selfish. How do we get involved? I mean, he was all in, and he got over immediately in the impact zone with that crowd and got over the people. And same when, across the board leading up to Slammiversary, he worked his ass off is what I'll say.
Man, I'm glad to hear you say that, because I do feel like you just gave some, as they say, flowers to two guys who often don't really get them. First of all, Josh Matthews had been on quite a tear on social media at the time, proclaiming that he was the best wrestling announcer of all time. And of course, he knew saying that is going to get him heat. And boy, did it work. There were a lot of people back then, and I think still to this day, who hate Josh Matthews because of that. And guess what? It was a character, folks. He wanted you to hate him, aka job well done. And that translates into the ring as well. Not releasing that Steiner recliner, and here they come. But I was glad to hear what you said about Alberto as well, because it feels like a lot of people assume that, he does bad business and he's not a good guy and he's selfish and he's not reliable. And there's all this negativity that surrounds his name. And I have to admit, I don't know, I've never worked with him. I think I may have met him one time, but just in passing. But to hear, oh man, he was great, a hard worker and not selfish and blah, blah, blah. That's great to hear. We don't hear that sort of thing about him enough, maybe.
Yeah. And look, I'm not going to shy away. Look, with my own story, we go through some dark periods where we do dumb shit, bad shit, horrible, whatever it may be. And I know that he's had some dark, I think he would admit that, some dark places. I have no idea where he's at today. Right. I mean, but I know my one-on-one relationship, and it was a working professional relationship. I couldn't have asked for anything anymore in 2017, because when he showed up, and he's second generation, at least second generation, right? But I mean, we bonded over generational being in the business, knowing that, hey man, and I told him, look, you're the top guy, the tip top guy, but with that comes all the responsibility. You got to make yourself look good and everybody around you good. And he had no idea putting that on his shoulders and rolling with it.
You said he had no idea. You mean no problem? He had no problem putting that on his shoulder.
Oh yeah, my bad. Yeah. He had, yeah, exactly. He had no problem with that concept, with the idea that you're right. I've got a top slide here. I got to prove my worth. I've got to, dig myself. I don't say out of a hole, but yes, I've got to point things in the right direction. And for us, he did during this time frame.